All right, so here's the deal. We are on law number 42, and it is this: strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Life updates before we get into the lecture. So tomorrow I have my, hopefully, final meeting with the attorneys for the investigation going on within my job. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward for this transitionary period to be done, and for me to be completely separate, done with this snake pit of garbage den that the last 18 months has compromised of. However, in this law that we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you food for thought of how to view a negative into a positive, how to exemplify the ideology from Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. The second thing I said, what you focus on, the meaning that you give things, the meaning that you give things. This didn't happen to you, this happened for you. So these are the seeds that I want to plant at the beginning of this lecture. To begin. Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. There's a humongous quote that prefaced the law, and it summarizes the entire thing. You ready? Here we go. Trouble can often be traced to a single, and I put strong in quotes, strong individual. The stirrer, the arrogant underling, the poisoner of goodwill. If you allow such people room to operate, others will succumb to their influence. Or if you put them in positions of power and authority where they can have room to operate, and they're able to use intimidation and bullying to threaten job security like a snake fuck. Not that I have personal experience with anything like that. Do not wait for the troubles they cause to multiply. Do not try to negotiate with them. I underline this. They are irredeemable. They are a serpent snake motherfucker in the grass. Godless. And I put snake fucks in parentheses. Neutralize their influence by isolating or banishing them. And that is very interesting because in this scenario, in this game, who's the one in banishment right now? It's fascinating how this snake serpent, that I'm the perceived trouble. You know what I'm saying? It's all a matter of perspective, I suppose. You know, neutralize their influence by isolating or banishing them. Strike at the source of the trouble and the sheep will scatter. And so I thought that was fantastic. I thought that was a fantastic idea of perspective for the law. Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Because in my lens, the only shepherd of, literally a shepherd is the one who is the leader of the sheep. The protector, the guider, the leader of sheep. Like Santiago. Santiago was a shepherd in The Alchemist, okay? My serpent snake, fat bitch fuck, she's the shepherd to all of the managers and administrators who are cowards, living in a learned state of helplessness, or in her courts, afraid to challenge this serpent fuck, right? Afraid to speak the truth, afraid to stand up against the abuse and the tyranny. And so when you strike at the shepherd, this serpent, this fat, see you next Tuesday, it's fascinating how all the sheep, all the people in her court, the yes men, they prove their colors, that when a threat arises, they don't give a shit about anything except their own security. And so you'll see cowardice unfold in real time when you attack that sort of stronghold. And when you prove that this person is not, is it infallible, whatever, that they can actually bleed, like Xerxes from Leonidas, you know? And before this battle is over, that even a god king can bleed, right? Same sentiment. However, how fascinating is it, and I find it fascinating, from the other lens, what a cancerous of a cell am I to this, you know, cesspit of an organization when I'm trying to call out bullshit and abuse and harassment and bullying that goes against the status quo. Like how, if you're the person doing all of the abuse and all the, you know, manipulation and all the treachery and all the deceit and all the garbage and all the lying and all the illegality, all of that, how annoying, like a festering wound, like a thorn, like a little prick I must be, right? Just so, you know, a tiny little thorn that just, you know, you're trying to grab a rose and all you feel is, you know, this resistance and this friction and this just pestilence. I must be to be not even shining a light, but acting as a mirror. acting as a mirror against all the abuse that they're doing and that they're imploring. And you just make them look at themselves in the mirror, and they're so fucking disgusted with themselves because they see you and they're in a state of fear, because you, as a mirror of just aligning with God, standing with truth, speaking courageously, calling out bullshit, having the courage to be the one alone amidst omnipresent persecution, which you'll find this on your hero's journey, that if you are aligning with truth, if you're aligning with God, if you're aligning with traditional conservative values, you will be persecuted beyond anybody else. Think of Jesus, who is persecuted the worst for being of the antithesis of bad character, right? He's the exalted version of the highest virtue, of integrity, of character, of unconditional love, right? Even to his Judas, even to his enemies. Same thing here within the rat life, that if you're acting under that, pursuit of trying to be Christ-like, trying to follow that path of that unparalleled, unmatched character, courage, integrity, right? You're going to be met with persecution. If you're building a nice, beautiful garden, I learned this from Jim Rohn. He illustrates it like this. You're going to be met with the birds and the bugs and the pests, these fucking weeds coming in, right? People like to attack something that's beautiful and that's good, especially when they're shitty people, right? It makes them feel better about themselves. It gives them a sense of power and authority over you. And it was so cute. I would have a director who would do that. He was such a bitch. He was such a pussy. And he would literally say, "You have to do what I say." It's adorable. Like, it's adorable when you feel like respect isn't something that, I don't want to say that you need to earn, but that's the fact of it. It's like, if you feel the need that you have to say, "You have to listen to me," it's very obvious you haven't set a precedent that you're worthy of respect. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the delusion of shitty leaders. And I put leaders in huge quotes. Shitty people in positions of authority that was not earned. The inevitable consequences that they abuse that power. And so it's a fascinating lens, because I'm looking at it from my perspective and I'm doing God's work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that me being placed into my most recent job was an assignment required by God to be that catalyst, right? To be this one person that, what is the ripple effect? All of these other people finding their voice, having the courage to speak up, to speak the truth against bullying, against tyranny, against injustice, against abuse, right? All it takes is one. And so I look at that from a wider lens, that, how I could be used for such greater good as a part of God's bigger plan. But I also appreciate the reverse lens of the twisted manipulator, sinister, fucking treacherous cunt who's looking at me, at what a pestilence I must be, at what a disturbance, what an annoyance I must be, right? To shine such a bright light, exposing their darkness. There's an airplane outside. Exposing all of their treachery and abuse and bullying. Why? Because it forces them to look at themselves in the mirror. And they already fucking hate themselves. The need for likes and validation from their peers, the desperate need to be liked, all it is a reflection of how much they fucking hate themselves. And what the insecure little child, little girl, who gets this feeling of power from abusing their positions of authority. And all it is, like I said, it's a reflection of horrific, shitty leadership. But we can start off with giving you the lens of why it's a gift. Me working in this most recent rat life job it shattered my limiting belief of, or imposter syndrome, that I'm not an incredible and impeccable leader. Because you're surrounded by people with titles, with made-up titles in the rat life, that they're leaders, they're managers, they're administrators, they're directors, they're all this bullshit. When in reality, you know that based on the way that they talk, based on their actions, based on their omission of integrity, based on their horrific character, based on the disrespect and abuse and name calling and just manipulation that they implore on others, you know, man to man, they're fucking nothing. They're a shell of a person outside of that office where their title doesn't mean shit as soon as you walk outside. And when you actually zoom out even more, it's like, you know, when they're going home, dude, their wife doesn't look at them with any fucking shred of respect. You know that this guy, he's not even getting taken care of on his fucking birthday. Like, I'm not trying to be crude with this, but it's so evident. Like, the ones who are making jokes about what divorce number that they're on, it's just like, these are the level of cucks that you're dealing with in omnipresent environment when you're working with the rat life. It's just these beta pussies, these cowards of men and leaders. And then when you look at the women, this is going to be one of the next quotes, is the way that they insinuate their will, the way that they implore their will. I learned this from Jordan Peterson. It's not through physicality. And for men too, in the rat life, it's not through physicality. The way that they impose their will is through innuendo, is through insinuation, is through gossip, is through character deterioration, through gossip. And so they'll do that. They'll get in their little courts and then they'll shit talk somebody. And I was at the brunt of that for the longest time. It's like, because all I have to do is just be myself, is just be somebody who takes care of himself physically. And so you'll wear clothes where it's obvious that, you know, you take care of yourself, because it's just a reflection that you respect yourself. And all of these fucking losers will make jokes about how, who needs to work out, who did this, and when they're eating like garbage food and they're fat as fuck and the like. And it just makes them feel better about how much they hate themselves and how little respect that they have for themselves. And it's like confirmation that, you know, because they don't respect themselves, because they don't love themselves, you know that their peers and that their family doesn't fucking respect or love them. And so it's that cesspit, do you know what I'm saying? And I think anybody watching this, you can resonate with that. When you're surrounded by fucking losers, these just, not even nerds doesn't even do it justice, just clowns, like people who prior to their, you know, spouse, never, if they're a guy, never fucking touched a girl. It's so obvious what a weasel that they are now, and what a weasel they must have been before they had this made up title, this position of authority. And so it's only logical that they're going to abuse that power, that they're going to, you know, feel like they get off on it, like I'm above you kind of deal. When you know outside of this office you could grab them by their fat fucking throat and put them on the, you know what I'm saying? That's the great irony of the current world that we live in. Because if you go back to hunter-gatherer times, these tech bubble nerd fucks, there's no world where they would be the alpha, the leader of a tribe. Because what is a leader? It's a savage servant. It's the one looking to protect and provide for his team. These weasel rat fucks who are only concerned about their own best interest, and then it's so funny when you see it in real time, they scurry to warmer climes. They're always looking to protect themselves, like the weasel rat that they are. When in reality, what a real leader does is they put themselves at the vanguard of danger. Because that's the agreement that you're making from the jump. You get the made up title, you get the increased pay, you get the corner office, because the deal is you're going to protect and provide for the people that you're leading. But when these motherfuckers take all of the reward and then do no risk and then don't stand at the vanguard when danger does arise, it's like a visceral betrayal from this underlying agreement that we had. And so they're betraying a, you know, bond, an agreement that has stood since the fucking dawn of time, of, you know, hunter-gatherer times. And so the roles are completely reversed. You have these pussy cowards who are in these positions of authorities, and the real leaders that are subject to this fucking stupidity and this cowardice. And so the way that leadership works is top down. So when you have all of your leaders who are pussies, and you have all of the people that they oversee, managers, administrators, who are pussies because they don't say anything, they don't speak up, they don't have the courage to speak the fucking truth. It creates a learned state of helplessness for everyone below that. Because you're just like, oh, then it fucks with your head. Because is it me? Is it in my head? This feels wrong. It's not my place to say anything, because all of these people who are in positions of authority, they're not saying anything, and it should be their role if they're operating with a fucking, you know, any sort of character integrity. But you learn very quickly from the rat life, most people are pussies. Most people are so afraid of speaking the fucking truth because they're so reliant on their rat life paycheck that they sacrifice their character and integrity as a man. And so I love it for the lens that I can easily see all of these men and the positions that they've placed themselves in that I will never place for me or for my future woman, ever. Like, where you're put into this cuckolded position where you can't speak the truth or stand up against fucking tyranny or bullying because you lack the resourcefulness to find other means of income to provide for your family from your lack of courage in the past. You had a window of opportunity, you chose to play it safe, you chose to not go for it, so that skill was never developed. Never developed. It's one of the biggest beauties about you pursuing entrepreneurship. If you go down the starting your own business route, you will find out very fucking quickly, when you've burned your boats, how resourceful you become when necessity demands it. Any person who's a parent, which I'm not, they can resonate with this. When you were just struggling to, you know, make ends meet before having a kid, and then all of a sudden a kid comes in, you're not going to let that fucking child go without food. So you're going to find the motivation, you're going to find the inspiration to increase your income or to cut down whatever expenses, because now it's a fucking priority, right? If you wanted to, you would, quite simply. But all of that gives me such a great appreciation from where you're standing on the chessboard. If you're a serpent, manipulative fuck, I'm the cancer, right? I'm the annoyance. I'm the frustration. I'm the bane of your fucking existence. And then to me, who aligns with God and truth and just basic integrity and courage, I'm the one that, it's in their best interest to banish, right? To lock him out of his emails, to give him, to silence his voice, to spread rumor and gossip about him, etc., etc., etc. So that's the beauty. That's the beauty about it. It's just, you have to understand that so long as you align with character, with integrity, the rest that we're going to go for in this law, you don't have to do anything. Despite you being banished, despite this, you get such an aura around your persona, around your name, when you align with God. As in the one quote that's so beautiful, if he be with us, who can stand against us? It doesn't matter, what gossip, what insinuation, what innuendo, what character degradation somebody tries to, enact and implore on you. And, even if you feel outnumbered by all of their people, let me tell you, God takes it personally. God hears those conversations that you're not privy to. God, when he sees when someone is doing bullshit in persecution against a child of God, somebody who's just aligning with truth and having the courage to speak the truth, having the courage to stand up when others lack either the courage to speak up for themselves and defend themselves, or the skill of articulation to express the fucking truth when it arises. This is gonna die. 1 second. But when you do that, man, I swear God takes it personally. And there's a line in the Bible, I'm going to butcher it, but he's like, rejoice. Rejoice when people are slandering your name and they're gossiping negatively about you and they're lying about you and they're persecuting you, because you have a mountain of blessings that are on their way, And I completely believe that. I believe that because I was pulled out from my rat life job, placed on paid administrative leave January 8th, that and knowing that I did everything that I could to get a new job, to get the fuck out of that cesspit of a shithole environment, we're just surrounded by clowns and idiots, and unprofessionals and bullies and people who love to, just satanic people, dude, who love harassment and who love lying and deception and snakery, just weasels and rats and serpents, snakes and vipers. Because God pulled me out when he did, and I knew that I had the intention to be free, to be a provider, to do everything that I could for myself, for my future woman, for my family, and my future family. Because I had all those things lined up, I knew that this was all written. Do you know what I'm saying? I knew that this was part of my nature's design. And that gave me the biggest confidence to trust in God's plan. I said, if God, I shared this in a prayer lecture, but I would go on walks with tears welling in my eyes because I don't know how many fucking more days I can do this anymore. But I told God, I said, I know you could take me out at any time. And I love the line from the Bible that says, according to your faith be it unto you. It's the synonymous with As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, book 1 of this university, that whatever you believe to be true is as you think, so you are. And so my faith is, God, you could take me out at any time. You see me getting abused and harassed and bullied every fucking day. You know how hard I'm working to get, I did over 10 interviews, rejection. This was all purposeful. I saw a video a long time ago of this 3-year-old girl. She said, if you get what you want, it's God's direction. If you don't get what you want, it's God's protection. So when you view life with the lens that everything is happening for you, in your best interest, for your highest good, every rejection that you're getting is for you. We don't want to hear that while it's happening. But then in hindsight, you're just that's the best thing that could have ever happened to me, was the rejection, was the failure, and this is why. Had I got in one of those other promotion of a rat life job where the margin would have been, a few hundred or maybe $1,000 more of income per month, how comfortable would I have been? How complacent would I have been? I literally had a plan where it's okay, I'm gonna commit to this rat life until I'm 35, 6 years from now. And I just said, right now, with my new timeline, with my new vision, my new sight that I've been gifted by God from these circumstances and by his grace, I said, thank you, God. Can you believe what I was saying? That I was going to endure this fucking garbage for another 6 years? Are you serious? What the fuck was I thinking, kind of a deal? And you don't think about that when you're going through it, trying your fucking best, giving it your all. Right? When you're getting rejection after rejection after rejection, what the fuck is wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? That's the rhetoric that goes on in your head. that the failure means you're a failure. You know what I'm saying? And so your belief and your confidence and everything goes down because you don't have the circumstances or conditions to prove that you know what you're talking about, or that, you know, any validity of credibility with what you say, or your mission or your cause, right? And I knew this from when I would be first starting my fitness transformation, and I didn't have the credibility of somebody who looked like, you know, they worked out, but I had all of the wisdom and knowledge from all the research that I had done. I said, I promise I know what I'm talking about. I just don't have the years of experience to corroborate that what I'm saying is the truth. And then sure enough, you get laughed at, you get criticized by people. When I told people I was going to look like a fitness model one day, my friends, I was just met with laughter and criticism, and just, you know, just not taken seriously in the slightest. And then you get to the 2-year mark, 3-year mark, 10-year mark, and then you have a physique they'll never have in their entire life, and you don't have any sort of showmanship about it. You're not boastful, you're not arrogant, you don't have any of that, you know, air of entitlement or arrogance or ego. It's just like, it's a calm confidence when you don't have to fucking say anything, and you just let your work do all the talking, and then they eat their fucking words. And there's a quote by Greg Play. He says, when you do the work in here, referring to the gym, when you go outside, when you go out there, you don't have to talk, do you? And so all these motherfuckers who, because they don't harbor the courage to pursue their own goals, to go for it, to step into the actual arena, all they can do to make themselves feel better is to try to bring you the fuck down. Quote from Greg Play, just to shit on you. And there's a good quote that you'll never be criticized by somebody doing more than you. So I hope any of that sort of resonates and makes sense. That the gift of perspective, that how this is happening for me, because had I not gotten this failure, had I not, and I'm going to talk about my the fat fucking bitches I've had the fortune and yet misfortune to work under, they've been a gift of a catalyst for me within my life, because I'm such obedient. I'm such an obedient follower of God that everything that every assignment that He guides me towards, I give it my all. I don't half-ass things. So if I were to do something, if I'm, you know, to commit to this university and to these lectures, I give my all. I've never understood why people apply half-ass effort into relationships, into their physical transformation. For me, it's always all or none. Because if you give a half-ass effort, and then you finish, and then you don't get the results that you would have wanted, then it's just like, wow, what could I have achieved had I given it my all? And nothing pains me more than regret, than what if. So it's like, I would rather give my all and then be able to sleep soundly at night knowing I gave my fucking best, right? Than knowing that I did a half measure and then I could have maybe achieved the success or gotten the woman, or, you know, whatever the accolade or achievement or their pursuit was. I hate the identity and the thought of me harboring the identity that when I look at myself in the mirror, I can't even make fucking eye contact with myself because the person looking back at me is a fucking coward, right? I'm the furthest thing from that. It's like Tarek Houck's rat life is synonymous with character, with integrity, with courage, the courage to pursue, the courage to believe, the courage to tell everybody, friends and family and coworkers, to go fuck yourself, right? These people who want to fit you in a little box, that how it is comfortable for their life and their trajectory and their progression. It's like, I don't give a fuck about any of that. And I thought about it today recently with a guy I was talking to. I said, I don't want to be you. I don't want to be you. I don't want to joke about when the last time that your woman gave you a blowjob. It's like, these fucking coward cuck men who, it's just, ugh. I don't want to adopt their mindset. It's like, you're not a leader. You're not a man. So it's just bullshit words within these people. It's just the way I think, man. It's just, I never understood men, how they can look at themselves in the mirror with no respect, and how they could look at their woman with any sort of pride when they know that their chick doesn't even fucking respect them. That's a mental gap I've never been able to bridge. But anywho, the catalyst is beautiful, and you're going to see it as, man, I hate this. This is miserable. And I've said that to God so many times. I said, God, I know you could take me out at any time. I know that if I were to zoom out and I can't see it, and so I don't want to commit hubris, and so I apologize if I'm committing hubris. And I know that everything is happening for my greatest good, for my nature's design. And I said, I know that one day I'm probably going to look back and be thanking you for this. But right now, I said, I fucking hate this, God. Excuse my profanity. And I would say that literally on the walk. I'd say, I absolutely hate this, and I don't know how much longer I can do it for. So that gives me so much comfort and solace when I did get pulled out of that, when I got saved by God, when He said, the lessons that you need to learn, all the pain that you needed to endure, all the adversity and struggle that I needed to hurt you. I needed you to endure this. I needed you to go through this fire, to then be refined and purified and be such a great man, a greater man because of it, right? And most people don't view it as that. Most people, they bitch and moan, they're the victim of their fucking story, when in reality, this hell that you went through, wow, what a fucking stronger man that made you. Wow, this new level of character, of integrity, of courage to stand up against all these fucking snakes, to be the one voice, the one person with the courage to speak up, to speak the truth. What pride I have now, right? What patience I have now. What a better relationship I have with God now, to never lose my faith. That, dude, this is a fucking means to an end. This will end. This is not forever, right? All of those positive things, if you choose to view it as such, if you choose to focus on what you can control, let go of what you can't control, and then every opportunity that you have to give it a beautiful meaning. How is this happening for me? Where am I being guided? What am I meant to learn by enduring this? Etc., etc., etc. So that is the picture I want to paint for this lecture. Let's get to the next quote. Whatever it costs you, so in regards to strike the serpent and the sheep will scatter, he's saying whatever it will cost you, pay the price. Lure the person away, banishment or absence from the court. And then another note, alienate them via slander and insinuation. I put how women impose their will. I learned that from Jordan Peterson. Women don't impose their will physically, obviously. And so they do it through reputation destruction, innuendo, and gossip. And so I love that because I'm living this out in real time, right? The banishment. So to reiterate the quote, whatever it costs you, lure this person away. That's the fucking hilarious irony. During my thing, I applied or requested funding from my organization for professional development, and then they didn't want to fork up it was like a few $100s. And then the amount that they're paying now in legal fees, it's just fucking, it's hilarious. Like the level of fucking stupidity from an arrogant, ego, dumb fuck, right? Fat bitch. It's fucking hilarious to see their stupidity and the consequences of it. When you're so blinded by pride, by ego, by narcissism, by just all of your shortcomings as a horrific, shitty leader, it's hilarious to see the result as such. Because when I am in the arena, calm, emotionally controlled, stoic, you don't make these stupid fucking blunders. You know what I'm saying? And so to see it happen, it's hilarious, and you get a sense of kind of joy because you don't have to say anything, and every person can see what a fucking idiot you are, including yourself. So that gives me sort of solace, that gives me peace of mind. And not only that, and I'm not trying to commit hubris by any means, so I want to curb my my continued laughter, but it's hilarious because I believe that God is going to give me full recompense for everything that I was assigned to endure for the past 18 months. Dude, it took me 3 weeks after January 8th just to heal, just to I had one of my angels who went through the literal same abuse. She went straight into work again after escaping this garbage. And, she told me that she went to her optometrist and then they saw this buildup behind her eye, and they're like, are you really stressed? Do you have a stressful job? And she had been working there even, several more years than I had. And so when you actually, you don't realize that any person who's been in any sort of abusive relationship, I've never been in the romantic sense, because for me, I set the precedent very clearly that I don't tolerate people who bleed on someone who didn't cut them. So anytime a person in my dating career, you could say, my dating life experience has insinuated the idea that they could treat me with disrespect, that could bleed on someone who didn't cut them, any of those things, I make it a precedent very quickly that shit doesn't fucking fly here, period. And so I've never been in an abusive relationship in the romantic sense, but any person who has, physically, sexually, or verbally, emotionally, they can resonate to the nervous system needed time to recover. At least I could. Dude, it took me fucking 3 weeks for my, the anxiety that this fucking induced to get quelled. For me to not be in because you're in 18 months of fight or flight, 18 months of an active cortisol drip, as in especially towards the end where you don't know what day that you're going to walk into the office and say you're fired, right? And so you feel so unsafe in an environment. And this was the peak unsafety, that every time I went in, I knew I was going to be abused. I knew I was going to be harassed. I knew there was going to be manipulation. There was going to be harassment. There was going to be verbal garbage. And it's like, it's such a fucking defeating feeling. And this is where you get this aching, the ache of depression, where your mind, I learned this from Joe Dispenza, the neuroscientist, your mind can predict the emotion of the day. And so it'll resign to the day to come because you already know how you're going to feel. And so when I would wake up, right, my body would be in a full fucking ache and I'd be so, down and out, miserable because of the next 9 hours. I knew the storm I was going to have to weather. And so I told God, like, I'm just taking this one fucking day at a time. And I told another angel, I'm being very careful about the ambiguity of these words. That's such a shitty thing to say, that, man, I just need to get through the next hour. I just get through the next few hours. What a garbage place to work at when that's the rhetoric. You know what I'm saying? So I learned that, man. I learned that it took me weeks for my nervous system to learn that we're safe now. We're finally safe. That fat bitch can never do this to you ever again. And so it's very, very healing. And it gives you such a gratitude for God to pull you out from this fucking shithole. And so any person who's in that, man, I hope that's like a beacon of hope or light for you, that it just view it as your required assignment, that there's still growth for you here, even though it's painful. Like, think of how a diamond is forged, right? It's pressure. Think about how a weapon is forged. It has to go through the forge. It has to go through the fire, right? You, on your hero's journey, you have to be refined. You have to be fucking struck down, dude. You have to be beaten. You have to be bruised. Why? Because of the stronger man or woman you persevere as, right? That you walk out of there as. And so if you're in an environment that feels like hell, keep going. The only way out is through. The only way out is through, right? You're already in fucking pain. Get a motherfucking reward for it, right? And again, it's not about what I get, right? The liberation, the freedom. It's about the man that I had to become in order to achieve this freedom, right? The one who never lost faith, right? His faith wavered. I would, be in tears in my walks and conversations with God, like, eyes welled up with just peak levels of, passion and anger and rage and despair, not knowing how much longer I could fucking do this for, but refusing to give up, refusing for this fat fucking serpent to win, to break me. You know what I'm saying? And I would tell people that. I said, there's no way I'm going to quit. There's no way I'm going to give up. I am going to make it to until. And when it comes to you on your hero's journey, you have to have that same level of severity. As in, you have to work so hard as if your life depends on it. Like, that's the amount of commitment and resolve you have to put towards your freedom. And it's very important to reiterate that, or for you to understand that unless you're all in of your freedom, and I told this to God, I would rather die. I'd rather not play the video game of life if this was meant to be my forever. I literally told that to God. I said, if this is what I'm meant for, if this is where my potential lies and is capped at, I said, what the fuck is the point, right? Put me in the ground. But God took me to the edge, man. I went to several hospital visits, cardiologist visits, ER visits, thought I was going to die multiple times. I've never had heart contractions before. I've never had my heart seize up in my chest and not beat for a moment. From just the sheer amount of stress and adrenaline and cortisol that this abusive, toxic fucking environment put on me, that I had to endure, that I had to withstand, that I had to persevere through. And so what I learned is God will take you to the edge. If you want to be free and you say to God, I will do whatever it takes to be free, he'll take you to the fucking edge, man. He'll take you to the limit. He has to prove it. You have to prove to him that you're really about it. And I feel like I did. I feel like I tried my absolute best. I was looking for new, work every single day. I was using all of my sick and vacation days for testing of new jobs or for interviews of new jobs. And I still showed up to work with a fucking smile. I still showed up and defended the people who either lacked the courage to stand up for themselves, defend themselves, to be protected by their leaders, or didn't have that because their leaders were pieces of shit, or, like I said, lacked the skill of articulation to express themselves. Particularly, and I knew this from the people who I worked with, if English wasn't even their first language. And you feel so bad for them. It's like they can't even express the tyranny or the abuse or the harassment. And so it's just like, for me, with the integrity and character that I align with who I say I am, Tarek Haux, I can't stand idle while abuse is being implored. Like, at a certain point, you have to say enough. And I didn't say anything for the longest time over the past 18 months working at this fucking shithole, because I thought it wasn't my place, because there were managers and administrators who were just cowards, I learned, who just didn't say anything, they were more afraid of the result of what I'm living out in real time, that you get that threat, that you'll get these letters of warning, and from your disrespectful conduct, and this is all gaslighting, from your disrespectful conduct, from calling out the person's abuse and gaslighting, with failure to demonstrate an improvement in these areas of vocally calling out gaslighting and abuse, can and will result in further disciplinary action, or may result in further disciplinary action up to and including termination of employment. So people, literally, one serpent fuck is able to hold all of these people's careers hostage. And then if they're guys, and this is their, they have no resourcefulness, and they're reliant on their fucking month-to-month paycheck for their mortgage, for their wife, for their kids, whatever, then you get them in a state of fear to speak up against you. And that's how your tyranny and your bullying is able to stand. So I, very fortunately from my path, I have no fear. I really don't, because I've lived in my car for 93 days. I've quit my job before. I've been, I don't want to say successful as an entrepreneur, but I've lived 2 years of entrepreneurship where I had to provide for myself and figure out a way to make ends meet. And so I said, I have no qualms, losing my fucking job on the basis of integrity. Like, I have no qualms. If I have to go live in my car and God sees that as the just reward for me standing up and speaking the fucking truth, to stand up to these snake fucks, then so be it, man. I'm at calm, acceptance with that. I don't have any qualms with that, if that's the hand that I'm dealt, or the consequence of me playing that hand, if that makes sense. But that's the game. So I hope any of that makes sense. I hope any of that resonates, and we're going to continue. So that's the only card that they have, is banishment, because somebody like me, they need them outcast, they need them ostracized, they need them, their name slandered, their reputation tarnished. But you do enough good deed, you align with God and truth and nothing else, you show up and you show up correct and you put in hard work, all of their gossip will backfire. You know what I'm saying? Like, people will see through, wait a second, you're the snake fuck, you're the dumb bitch, And so it's beautiful that if you just align with God, dude, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to defend yourself. You literally let your history of actions speak for themselves. And that's what true leadership is. The ones who, they don't feel the need to bring themselves down to the petty level of bickering and arguing with the toxic fuck that's trying to manipulate them through gaslighting, through slandering, through all this shit. There's no class in that. Like I said, you'll never be criticized by someone doing more than you. And don't construe or conflate that with you calling out abusive fucks. That's not criticism. That's you calling out tyranny, calling out abuse, calling out manipulation, which takes courage, particularly if you're fucking outnumbered or your job is going to be threatened as a result, right? Or you're going to end up being like this martyr. That isn't you gossiping openly about him. That's you calling out a snake fuck in the grass and putting their head on a pike for all to see. Okay? Next. Alienate them via slander and insinuation. And I said, yeah, how women impose their will because they don't do it physically. Quote, there remain thousands of petty tyrants ruling smaller realms, enforcing their will through indirect power games. And I put power games, not games, whatever I said. My experience with fat, see you next Tuesdays, the positive view and gift. So he says that in this law, it's not necessarily one person or one tyrant like we've known throughout history. He said there are thousands of these petty little fucking pests in these positions of authority who impose their will through treachery, right? And so how do we, fucking defeat these motherfuckers? I say I've had the misfortune, but it's actually in my history. It's only benefited me. It's only been a gift to me. Because had I not had this catalyst, it never would have lit the fire for me to say enough, for me to say, fuck this, right? The first school district I worked at, my boss was another fat bitch. And she would throw tantrums. She would emotionally project on me. And she was such a piece of shit. She was such a fat, dumb bitch. And it's hilarious because her garbage, what I said was, because of you, I will never work for another motherfucker ever again, right? And because of the lessons that I had to learn the very hard way, unfortunately, that sentiment would not stand. And I had to return to the Rat Life to pay off the debt that I had amassed from starting Rat Life, the pre-workout supplement company, on a loan in the form of a credit card, and getting all that interest that's accruing on it and all that debt. But I would be able to do entrepreneurship for 2 years from that catalyst. So when I say things happen for you and not to you, had I not had the worst boss, the most arrogant, the most stupid, the most technologically illiterate, like there's just the one throwing a tantrum who's 20, 30 fucking years older than you and you're the adult. It's just like, had I not had that catalyst, it never would have gotten brought to the point where I said enough. And then I never would have had the experiences that I had and all the growth that I was able to have as a result from 2 years of entrepreneurship and all of that failure and all of those lessons and all the traveling for 6 months in Europe. Like all of that was because of this person, right? For them being such a piece of shit. It's as if God gave me an angel to be that catalyst, right? That's how you give things a positive spin. And you understand that every single thing, no matter how seemingly insignificant or how terrible, is happening for you, and you could put a positive spin on it if you choose to. That's the hero narrative and rhetoric, not the victim motherfucker says this happened to me, this isn't fair. No. That's not productive, that's not constructive, that's not anything beneficial to you. Versus if you try, we learned this in Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. If you say I can't, if you say this is happening to me, if you're a victim, your mind doesn't even go to work try to find a solution. So if you don't have those open-ended questions of how is this happening for me, right? What is this inspiring me to do? And then if you look back and you have the humility to look back and see what a gift this was, and you can address that, and then you could say, I'm sorry, God, for saying that, for me bitching and me moaning, when this resulted in my dream relationship, my dream life, my dream, day-to-day, where I don't have to wake up and answer to another motherfucker. Like, what a gift of a life I have because of this that I thought was so terrible, so miserable, right? And so fast forward to, that was in 2021. January 15th was my last day at that place. 2021. Fast forward to January 8th of 2025, 4 years later. Wow, it's like history is repeating itself. I am subject to the tyranny, the abuse, the harassment of another fat bitch. And what's the result? The first one was a gift, gifted me freedom for 2 years. This one possibly might be gifting me freedom for a lifetime. And so I don't harbor, and I try not to, every time I do, I catch myself because I'm not trying to punish myself for someone else's mistake, but I try not to harbor any resentment, any anger, any bitterness, any spite towards this fat serpent fuck. Excuse my language, it's just for description purposes only, so you can picture them in your head. I don't have to feel the need to do any of that because I am in full trust that this was all a part of God's plan for my highest nature's design, for my highest good. This is the greatest gift, the greatest catalyst, right, to leapfrog me into the very life I've been telling God that I dream to live. He's like, no problem, but this is what I gotta do. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want fuel, rocket fuel to get this, I gotta put you through. The burning is good. You'll rise like a phoenix from the ashes, no problem, but first comes the burning, and for that you'll need to be strong. I gotta take you to the edge. You know what I'm saying? So I viewed all of my past, all of the abuse, all of the harassment, all of the mistreatment, all of the injustice as positives. How did this happen for me? Where am I being guided to? Why did I need to go through this? What did it force me to do? Right? It forced me to say enough. It forced me to condense a 5-6 year plan into a fucking 90-day plan, into a 6-month plan, right? So it's all gifts. It's all gifts if you choose to view it as such. Okay. Quote, with the leader gone, there is nothing to revolve around and everything falls apart. Aim at the leaders, bring them down, and look for the endless opportunities in the confusion that will ensue. And the one thing that I thought about was Edmond Dantes, and I thought I had that written earlier, but I guess I didn't write that. I must have written it in the book and not transcribed it. Poor lesson planning. But when they talk about with the leader gone, there's nothing, and then everything sort of falls apart, and then, just take all the opportunities that you can. And the whole law is strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. If you've ever read the book or seen the movie The Count of Monte Cristo, where an innocent man is, imprisoned into the Chateau d'If for 13 years, and then he says, "I'm innocent," and I am sure you must hear this all the time. He's saying this to the warden, And he's like, no, I know you're innocent, Edmond. And he's like, do you mock me? And he's like, no, I don't. I truly believe you are innocent. He said, there are 100 or 1,000 prisons in France. Why do you think they sent you here? This is where they send the innocent people. It's in the banishment of a person, of a light, of God, of Christ. It's in their banishment, it's in their persecution, where then you can operate. That's how the manipulative, toxic, tyrannical, that's how they view it. And people who have resided in courts, that's how they've always viewed it. Socrates, who was in prison and then poisoned, sentenced to death for impiety, for corrupting the youth. That's how they've done this. If you just study history, they do the same shit. First, they'll slander you. They'll slander, they'll do it with reputation. And the one card that the elites use in today's modern society is sexual persecution. Because as soon as you get branded as a rapist, as soon as you get branded as a human trafficker, they get to use the word. And even with Trump, where you get charged with imprisonment, right? They get to use that word of, a convicted felon. This person accused of rape, which means nothing. You're accused. It's complete fabrication, complete bullshit. You didn't do anything. But they're able to first try to break your reputation, break your character. That's the first way they try to silence you. When that doesn't work, then they try to imprison you. Then they try to banish you. When that doesn't work, then they're like, well, we have to put this fucking cancer down. This threat to our way of life, right? This threat to our power. Then we gotta kill you. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's been rhyme and reason since the dawn of time. And if you think about Christ and the persecution of Christianity and the threat that was to paganism, during antiquity, right? Things rhyme and reasons. They say that history is not the same, but it rhymes. If you just study history, these manipulative, tyrannical, treacherous, serpent viper snakes, they do the same thing. They shit talk you, they try to gossip and rumor and they try to degrade your name. When that doesn't work, they'll banish you. And when that doesn't work in modern civil society, right, they won't kill you, but you'll end up having a shot yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll end up, oh no, he had a mental health disorder. Oh no, he was struggling with mental health the whole time. And what's scary about it is that in the future, AI will be able to manipulate every video. It already can. As in, you'll be able to say things, they'll be able to take your voice. Any person who puts themselves out on content, you've said enough words to where they have your entire spectrum of words that you can say now, where they can fabricate every tonality for it to sound so fluid, and they can manipulate your words to you saying a suicide note, or you saying something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's scary. But that's the future that we're going to. It's going to be so fake, you won't even know what's true or not. And then imagine that. Imagine you're in banishment. And then you're watching a video of yourself that's not you. That's an AI of you saying things that aren't your voice with your voice. Very, very scary what these people will be able to do. However, I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic. I believe that with God, light and truth always wins. So long as we align with that, love, it'll always beat the darkness. I saw this in a good interview with Jim Caviezel, who plays Edmond Dantes in the kind of Monte Cristo. And if you don't know who that is, he plays Jesus in Passion of the Christ, soon to film the resurrection of Christ. He says, people think that like good and evil is like this, like God and Satan. He's like, it's like this. It's like, he said, God could eliminate the devil and satanic people like this in an instant. Because what this spectrum is, in a spiritual sense, it's love and fear. Love and fear is not like this. It's love and fear like this. If you're in a state of love, if you've ever taken MDMA or ecstasy, if you have the feeling of just a flood of oxytocin and you know what unconditional love is, any person who's ever taken either of those things at a festival where you're giving compliments to fucking strangers, you know the feeling of complete unconditional love, where there's no fear in you. You know what I'm saying? You're not having a bad trip. It's the complete antithesis. You cannot be afraid or ungrateful or angry in a state of love, in a state of gratitude. It's just, you chemically can't. You can't simultaneously be angry or afraid when you're operating in gratitude, when you're operating in love. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's all a choice, right? Because it's all thought. It's all thought and emotion. I can choose to have faith and to have hope and to have belief, just as I could choose to have worry and doubt and fear and concern. right? So why choose this? And I say this, but if you think about it in the big picture, they want you, I shared this in the last lecture, they want you to operate here. They want you to operate at this vibration, this frequency of anger, of resentment, of bitterness, because that's you remaining separate from your natural self, of who you are, who you truly are, right? Without this bullshit, without the systems, without the indoctrination, without the hatred, without you fighting and being upset with your neighbor. Like, love thy neighbor, you know what I'm saying? Love thy wife as Christ loved the church. You're not there because you're operating here, you're vibrating here, your frequency is here. You're distracted, you're numb, you're scrolling, you're swiping, you're all of this garbage, right? That's how they get you so far removed from your divinity, from your power, which resides in you. It's just dormant right now. That's what I love about this university. I keep reiterating it. It's become my new favorite quote. Beyond, we're all going to make it. We're all walking each other home. We're all just walking each other home of who we are meant to be, who we can be, right? Which is you without all the layers. And it's layers and layers and layers of years and years and years of abuse, of harassment, of trauma, of fucking gaslighting, of motherfuckers bleeding on the person, you, who never cut them, right? Years of that guilt, years of that anger, years of that defeat, of just all of this garbage that it was none of that was ever your fault, and you're just trying to be this loving person. But like a light, you attract so many fucking moths. And you'll find that people who have the most amount of love, they know the greatest amount of despair. They know what it means to just be a mental warrior, to have the perseverance to keep going, when all they wanted to do was love, when all they wanted to do was retain their childlike cheer that they had when they were a child. You know what I'm saying? And so all of us are just literally like a little kid. You know, we become the hero that we wish we had when we were younger, but now we're that for each other, right? We're all trying to walk each other home. We're all trying to help each other find our inner child again, right? Find that little boy, that little girl was filled with love, who wasn't filled with fear or anger or hatred, right? And we can do that for each other by just showing up authentically, having these healing discussions, right? Welcoming like-minded individuals that resonate with us into my beautiful, nourishing garden, right? Where we call out and act as mirrors and lights to the abusers, to the manipulators, to the toxic, gaslighting motherfuckers. And we say, go fuck yourself. And the beauty is we don't have to say that. You don't have to say anything, right? But you choosing to align with God, align with truth, remembering who you are, like Simba, you know, you've forgotten me, you've forgotten you, therefore you've forgotten me. When you remember who you are, you'll remember that, you'll literally remember and feel that reconnection to your God source, your God divinity, right? That God spirit that's inside of you, but that's just dormant right now. Because like I said, it's dormant because of all of this garbage, right? You can't be here on the highest vibration that there is, which is authenticity, which is, I think it's hundreds of times stronger than joy, peace, gratitude, love. That's here on the Power versus Force. If you've ever, I haven't read that book, but it's on my plan to read in the next couple months. Authenticity is the highest one. That's what they call enlightenment. That's you literally not just remembering who you are, but fully embodying it. Fully embodying unconditional love. Fully embodying you being your purest self. You speaking and acting 100% in your truth. You owning who the fuck you are, right? In the last law that we talked about, we love that. We love to see people with the courage to be themselves. Why? It inspires us to do the same. Cool? Okay, last quote. And so that's why it reminded me of Edmond Dantes, because of the banishment, right? And so what were they able to do while he was banished? This attorney was able to rise in the ranks. Fernand, his best friend, was able to take Mercedes. And then it's just Danglars was able to force out Monsieur Morel, and then become the co-owner and then eventually the sole owner of the shipping company. Like, why? Because the one guy, the one leader, the one shepherd was banished. And so you're able to do all of this. So you enact that quote. With the leader gone, there's nothing to revolve around and everything falls apart. Because they're not there to keep shit in line and keep these snakes out of the fucking garden. And so aim at the leaders, you know, the ones with morals and the innocent men, the Edmond Dantes, and look for the endless opportunities in the confusion that will ensue, right? But then this is the warning, and this is the last quote. And this is what Edmond Dantes did to Danglars, did to, to Fernand, and then did to, the attorney, who I don't remember his name. Any harm you do to a man should be done in such a way that you need not fear his revenge. That's a quote from Niccolo Machiavelli, who is the major inspiration for the 48 Laws of Power that Robert Greene would write as a result. And I put, you better kill John Wick. And I put, i.e. Tarek Hawks. And with that, that is law number 42. As in, you can banish me, no problem. You can try to shit talk my name, but motherfucker, you better kill me. You know what I'm saying? And the beauty about this is this. I say we're going to put their motherfucking head on a pike, but understand, you don't have to do anything. God will do it for you. So long as you align with God, with truth, with courage, to speak the truth, with character, with integrity, you don't have to seek revenge. You don't have to seek personal vindication. You don't have to do anything. You will be blessed and rewarded from literally God smiling at you, from God gifting you this from your persecution, from your wrongful persecution. You understand? So understand that. Wow, what a blessing. Thank you for this gift. And it's so funny because if somebody, is using like a witchcraft and they're like a witch or a warlock and they're able to sort of see your destiny, right? I like the idea that they try to sabotage it, right? They see your potential, they see your intellect, they see your, everything. They see all of these virtues, and they have this sort of jealousy that they see where you could be, and so they're trying to break you and destroy you, not knowing that it's their very actions that are going to result in you. And so it's hilarious at times end, because you understand this, and this comes from meditations. No person, and this should give you complete peace of mind and solace, no person can stop your nature's design. No person. No mortal fucking being, no witch, no warlock. None of these snake, serpent, viper fucks. These fat see you next Tuesdays, right? No one can stop your nature's design. No one can stop what is written for you to achieve, for you to become, for the impact that you're going to make down the road, for all the blessings to come in your life. No motherfucker can stop it except you. Except you. Because of this, we as humans are adaptable. So when we have failure, struggle, setback, adversity, obstacle, because we can adapt, we can overcome. Therefore, it's a quote from Marcus Aurelius, the obstacle becomes the way. Do you understand? The obstacle becomes the way. It's a motherfucking stepping stone. It's motherfucking gas and fuel for your trajectory, right? I needed to go through this. Thank you for this gift, this infinite fuel. It's what I needed to say enough. Okay? So with that, that's law number 42. I hope you enjoyed. My latency right now was so bad that I have a video editing since like noon today. And right now it is almost 8 o'clock and it's probably at like 50% rendering. So each video is going to be taking like 24 hours to render and upload, but and again, I got interrupted. No. So we're going to see. I'm doing my best. Like as much as, the enemy is trying to delay these videos, they don't want all of this love and all this light and all this truth, to be out in the world. They don't want this garden to happen. But just understand that if there's a delay in the thing, not that I'm not doing them every day. It's not that I'm not showing up. You know what I'm saying? But it's that I'm being attacked by the enemy. And I have like a virus or something on my computer, and that is just annoying. That's where we're at. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed. We're all going to make it. My name is Tarek Hawks. What is rat life? It starts with belief. Anyone can escape. It starts with belief and the courage to pursue. The courage to pursue. The courage to take these viper snakes, put their head on a fucking pike, and say, you better kill me. Otherwise, you're going to get Baba Yaga. And with that, that is rat life. We are all going to make it.